In task 3, you made assignments by linking tasks and resources. Now it's time for us to go back in and look at how we've assigned people and see what has happened. You will probably, right now, whenever you look at your project, you will notice that some of these things that are the higher level, like the conference level, doesn't have a resource name in it. You don't need one for these. Those are really just headers. Same thing for project management, early planning, etc. You'll also probably notice that whenever you went through here, you decided that a lot of these tasks really were yours to accomplish. The project management piece, the project tracking, really is you. The issue management is you. And so as you went through, the odds are, whenever you went through and you put in assignments of people to tasks, you probably ended up with your name in there often. So what we want to do today is to take a look at balancing out our resources to make sure that uh, your resources, your human resources in this instance, are not overtasked. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to go to the report section. Now the different version of project that you're running will have different reports that are in here. So if you don't have the exact report, I want you to make sure that you just at least have the concept of the reports that are in here. So again, don't panic if your numbers don't match up or if your screen doesn't match up exactly with mine. It's just a different version of project that you're working on. Okay, so once again, I've gone to reports, and then when I've gone into reports, I'm going to go into resources because that's what I'm concerned about right now. And I just want to look at the resource overview section. So whenever I pull up resource overview, you will see that everyone that is currently listed as a resource and the number of hours that they have listed to be working. So you'll see here for me, I still have over 450 hours to work on this project. Um, Chin has fewer than that. Alexandria has less than that. So you can see that this gives you a really good overview of the number of people, or sorry, the number of hours that people still have left. So this is unrealistic though to think that I'm going to be able to put in 450 hours because if I go back to the Gantt chart, if I go back to my Gantt chart, the way I have mine set up, and now yours is going to be different than mine, but the way that I have my Gantt chart set up, this is going to be all accomplished in 17 days. So there's no way on earth I'm going to be able to get all 450 hours worked in those 17 days. So I have two options. One, I can try to offload some of my work, or I can go in here and I can extend some of these tasks so that I have some time so I have more time to get them done. However, with that said, um, I also need to be considering what are my constraints? What are the constraints on all of the resources that I have? And if you go to page 2 of your task 4 instructions, you will see that in step 2, very top of the page, that there are several things that are listed here for you to take a look at. Each employee can only work at most 40 hours per week. Um, you also have administrative duties which require at least 8 hours of your time each week. So the most that you can work is 32 hours. So from our standpoint before, we know that I have over 450 hours that I have currently assigned to myself. Your numbers are going to be different for you or whoever else that you have in the system. So if we're going to do 450 hours worth of work and I can only do 32 hours of work a week, immediately we can see that this is not going to be able to get done in 17 days. The truth is it's not even going to get finished in 13 weeks. So I need to start thinking about how do I extend some of these days so that I can make things more available for me um, and work out through these constraints what's going on. The question now becomes which of these tasks should I be the most worried about? Which one should I start trying to adjust? And again, this is where the art piece of project management comes in, because we could scientifically say that that there's an optimal solution, but the truth is it's now just getting down to when do you assign yourself different tasks based on the constraints that you have. So one thing that you can do to start trying to help you determine which of these tasks to work with is you can go in and look at when you were over allocated. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is once again, we're going to go to the report section. I'm going to go to resources. I'm going to go to the over allocated resources page. And from this, if we go in, we can see that for the very first day, August 20th, I am scheduled to work 16 hours. Okay, well that doesn't make any sense for me to be able to work 16 hours. So I would go back to my Gantt chart view. Again, we're talking about August 20th. Back to Gantt chart. I can go in here now and I can look at some of these tasks where I am listed on August 20th right here, 8 hours each day. There's time there that I'm allotted. So what we have for each and every one of these days that starts on August 20th, I need to go back and I need to either adjust the start day, or I need to adjust the number of hours that I'm working. I could also, if I put this develop agenda, I could remove some of my allocation if I could just go back in and assign some of my work to someone else. So if you remember back from task 3, Tamara is actually your project assistant. So you don't have to do everything. So in this case, for develop an agenda, maybe I just go ahead and hand this off to to Tamara. So when I add Tamara here, I'm going to take me off. I did that on August 20th. Let's go back over now to our report, resources, over allocated resources, and we'll see that now on August the 20th, I have dropped down to only 8 hours worth of work. So for August the 20th, I'm working the number of hours that I should be working, and I'm not over allocated there. All right, go to the next day, August 21st. I have 32 hours that I'm scheduled to work. That's impossible. Let's go back over to Gantt chart. And in the Gantt chart for August 20th, develop a budget. I have to be a part of developing the budget on that day. So with Tony Espinoza, so I can't hand this one off. However, develop a communication plan. Again, I can't hand this one off. So that means that I really can't start developing a communication plan on this day because I'm already scheduled to be working 8 hours. So since I can't start on that date, two options. I can either take and adjust it to start the next day, or I can change my predecessor, which says don't develop a communication plan until you've developed the budget. So totally up to you how you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and change this to completing that piece, which now means that I've shifted the start date. Okay, so what you're going to do now is you are going to go through, you're going to look at your resources, go through each one of these individual tasks, check to see what's happening as you manage your system, move people forward, allocate resources to where you try to minimize this over allocation issue. So I'm going to let you work on that for a few minutes. Okay, now that you've gone ahead and started allocating some people and you've gone back and forth between the resource view and trying to determine when you're over allocated and whatever else, one thing that will help you that is in project is if you look over here on this left hand column, the information column, you will see little red dots. They're actually little people, And the people, if you left click on it, it says the task has overallocated resources, and that you can right click for options telling you what's going on. So right clicking, you can reschedule to next available date, or you can fix it in the task inspector. You can ignore it or whatever else. However, it really is one of those really quick uh, visuals to show you where you are and what's going on. The first two up here where it shows you that you are over allocated based on your project tracking and your issue management, those are not nearly as important, because with those you know that you're doing those all the time and you're really not doing 8 hours a day of those. Um, However, another thing that you will notice as you go through here is that as you keep moving, your duration of your entire project is getting longer. Okay, so I started off at 17. I don't know where you started. However, I'm up to 21 days now. So let's go ahead and continue to allocate resources, but those tips should help you. Okay, you've now continued to work through this. From my scenario here, I'm up to 25 days um, of time to get this done. However, where we stand on this, now that I'm up to 25 days, I still have some overallocated issues that I'm working on. You are not going to get to the absolute perfect plan right now. So don't worry about trying to get to the perfect plan. I just need you to see from the concept level what it's like for you to be able to go in, um, assign other people, think about over allocation, realize how you're working with this system. The last thing that I want you to do though on this task is once again consider what's going to happen when you walk into the boss and say, this is really going to take us 25 days to get this done. And the boss says, hey, this has to be done faster. We oftentimes call that crashing a project. Crashing a project means that we're going to take and we're going to try to get things done faster, which oftentimes means if I'm going to do it faster, then it's going to require more resources in some areas to move things along. Your instructions tell you to try to reduce the amount of time for this, and it gives you an estimated amount of time to go for it. I'm not as worried about the overall time that you reduce it. What I do want you to see is how could you, once again now using the art portion of project management, how could you go in, how could you add some more resources? Where would you have to add resources so that you could reduce the total number of days here? So you're going to continue the same process that you've been going through before, adding resources, trying to reduce the amount of days or time for each one of these, which ends up driving the overall duration. Once you've done that, you've finished this task.